This content is ineligible to monetize. We don't monetize. That was on yesterday's video or the day before. I can't. Do you know what? There's just so many videos, and what's even more convoluted is that because the members get these videos 24 hours in. 24 hours in advance. In fact, I think it's longer than that. It's like 32 hours in advance. That I can't even remember what video that was from. Well, I can literally tell you what it was from, but it was I think it was from yesterday's video. Players that are causing me a headache when I played the Pierce the Veil song. To make it even more convoluted, this is like some streamception. Wink, wink. It's like some Inception kind of thing where that was the video from yesterday that went up publicly, but actually was a members video out on another day. But the people that are watching this publicly, that was 3-4 days ago. God almighty, people getting pissed off yet? Because we're not getting any more subscribers. Thankfully, we're not losing any, but we're not getting any subscribers either. So clearly, people that are coming to this channel for the first time ever and are watching this content, they're just going, nah, it's not good enough to subscribe to, turn off. Despite the fact in the past week, I think there's been 2 streams and 4 videos, but that's not good enough to subscribe to. I've watched every video and every stream, but I'm not going to subscribe to it. The psychology there just fascinates me. You enjoy that person's content, but you don't subscribe. Like Coyle says, baffling. There's been lots and lots of feedback on these members videos. Admittedly, when you put it out publicly, obviously there's going to be more of an influx. But let's crack on with the actual members' comments from the video from yesterday. And Kickus was clarifying the one about how he likes to eat fish or a kebab or something. That was literally just him, and I quote, he. It was only to leave a comment on your video. Yeah, exactly. I think whenever I leave comments on the videos, I just literally quote something that I say. Haxlet with 2 comments here saying, "Hey Steve, what is the podcast that you have mentioned a couple of times? I don't use Spotify, I use Amazon. Do you have a personal channel, etc.?" If you're specifically asking about my actual podcast, my shitty little podcast that I do, which is about The Office, and also Total Bonus Stevo Total Stevo podcast, like I did one last night. It's called the Total Stevo podcast. It's, in fact, I'll show you the cover of it right now. That's it there. That is what the cover will look like. So, thanks to Alex Follow. It must be really difficult to rub out the middle section. Yeah, Alex didn't put any of those other things there. But no, in all seriousness, I am very grateful of what Alex did for that. But yeah, that's what the cover that you're looking for. I don't think it says that it's on Amazon, but I don't think it is on Amazon, to be completely honest with you. But yeah, that one is just a personal one, where I chat you think I chat absolute shit on here? Oh, God. The Total Stever ones, they get more, they're more sexualized. Yeah, they're more sexualized, basically. They're also subject matters I can't actually really talk about on here, to be honest with you, because it would really be offensive. But anyway, yeah, but if you're not referring to that, then the only other one I can think of is Mind Pump. Mind Pump will be available on every single platform you can imagine, even YouTube now. So if you want to check out Mind Pump, by all means, it will come up as a fitness podcast, but trust me, very similar to Elite FPL or FPL Juice. It's kind of interwebbed with all different conversations that are linked together, with fitness. You know how we kind of talk about FPL, but then somehow the conversation will go on to whatever it may be, and then it gets brought back to FPL, and it just goes on and on and on. Well, it's very similar to Mind Pump. Their structure is basically give or take, each episode is let's just say an hour and a half long. The first 45-50 minutes, if not an hour, is usually dedicated to things like, have you seen this study that, and it'll be a study linked to something to do with health, and then they'll talk about, oh my god, I can't believe that my child has done, and then they talk about stories about their children, and then it will jump into like conspiracy theories, and then it will stop there, and then they'll just answer live Zoom calls from their audience talking about their personal issues that are going on. To be completely blunt, after a while, it's kind of why I actually stopped listening to Mind Pump, whether you're aware or not. I was listening to Mind Pump for 7 years, and during last year, so 2022, I just stopped listening. I just couldn't listen to it anymore because it was just literally the same thing. And also the questions from the callers. And unfortunately to say this, very similar to FPL, it was just the same regurgitated question over and over, to the point of where I'm like, fucking hell, I get it. You want to strip fat but also be jacked. You want to be really good at endurance sports, but you also want to be jacked. You can't eat too much protein. Or what other nutritional foods out there can I have to compensate for not having too much protein, because I've got an intolerance to it. And when you hear this every single episode, and remember they do, I say remember like you even know, but they do four episodes a week like that, plus a specialist one. It gets a bit tiring. And like I said, I was during the year, because it was exactly a year I left them. Again, they were kind of just constantly going on about their children, especially Sal and Adam, and it was just getting really, really boring. So I just kind of left them for a year, and then it was only recently, about maybe 2-3 months ago now, and maybe a bit longer, that I went back to Mind Pump. It was certainly around, I think it was around August, September time, roughly. I decided, you know what, I'm gonna listen into them, and I just have now started listening to every single episode apart from the specialist ones. However, what I will say is that ironically, I'm now again getting a bit bored of the question section. It's getting a bit like, you know, again, I get the idea. You want to get stronger. What do you do? Well, I suggest you get Maps Pro or whatever it is, and you just, you know, it's just the same thing. But anyway, whatever. And you know, we all have these opinions about various things. People will have the same opinion about this channel. Here we go, Steve-O talking about content creators selling their souls. Steve-O talking about there's more to life than FPL. There are going to be people like that. In fact, by weird coincidence, I was talking to, who was I speaking to? Oh, it was Ray. I was saying to Ray yesterday about the fact that there are members that used to be regulars on the show, whether it was actually speaking to us or whether it was being part of the Discord or in the live streams. They've just vanished off the face of the planet, and it could be down to all manner of reasonings, but you know, one of them could be, I'm just sick to death of hearing this stuff. And like I've told you 1,000 times, there are many members that do not watch any of this stuff because all they want is fantasy football content. That's it. They've literally said that. And interestingly enough, someone, I apologise, someone kind of made this point about, in fact, I think it was Delia. She made a comment on Twitter, funny enough. She posted tweets and it was words to the effect of, to think that there are some Twitter accounts out there that have a go at other Twitter accounts for not just posting FPL content. And I jokingly put, yeah, well, they're fucked if they even bother listening to Elite FPL anyway. But I was thinking about this, how this channel has evolved from quite literally talking about fantasy football to talking all matter of subjects, and it is an evolvement. Sorry to go on about it, but you go back to Mind Pump, and with Mind Pump they've evolved from literally just talking about fitness to that their episodes lasted 30 to 35 minutes to now 8 or 9 years later where they're now an hour and a half to 2 hours long podcasts talking about everything. And it's because there are people that are interested in the first half of the show. They come out and tell us this. This is why I like Mind Pump, because they're very open and honest. They tell you, they tell us that there are people that like the first part of the show and don't like the ending. There are people that only like the ending and don't like the first part. Then there are people like me that like it all. And with this channel specifically, it's gone from people that are just only wanting to talk about fantasy football to actually, because they've been with us for so long, they've kind of got to know me and Jason, and it's been a very, very, very long journey. And people get to know you, and to be honest, they don't really give a shit about the FPL stuff. I use Planet FPL as the prime example. I'll be straight with you, I really could not care less about their FPL opinion. Don't get me wrong, very, very knowledgeable, very, very informative. I have a high regard for what they both say. To be honest, I have more interest in their own personal opinions about what happened on game day or what's happening in their lives. I find that more interesting now because I've evolved with them. I've been listening to Planet FPL for 4 years since Dan introduced me to them. It's been 4 years, and I've evolved with them so much that yes, I do like listening to the FPL stuff, but truth be told, I'm actually more interested, like I just said, I'm more interested in the personal side of things now, because you kind of have grown up with James and Suj in this specific case. And it's why, like I keep banging on about, why I love the FPL Juice show, because it's just a group of mates chatting shit, and their bond is fantasy football. They will talk about fantasy football, but it's kind of like, for me, whenever I'm watching it, I'm just like, yeah, the fantasy football stuff's great, but actually I prefer listening to the four of them chatting about why McDonald's drive-thrus are really, really annoying, apparently. Who is that says that? Who is it that on their pundits? Comment below, Nick Turner. And I was thinking of Nick Turner, why it reminded me, so it was Nick Nocturnal. That's who I was thinking of, Nick Nocturnal. A YouTube heavy metal influencer. Yeah? Fucking hell. But yeah, one of I'm sure it's Ash, angry about the fact that when it comes to a McDonald's drive-thru that you have to be told to wait in the car park or whatever. It's like, yeah, they've got a giant queue. What do you expect? Or, for instance, when they're talking about Delia's wonderful baking, and when I go to their December the 10th five-a-side football tournament, I don't give a shit about the football. Do you know what I care about? Delia's bakery. It's all I give a flying fuck about. And the truth of the matter is that it's because you've feel part of the conversation. Like with anything in life, if you're just being thrown answers about something is just like, it's just in one ear and out the other. Yes, when I listened into Ray, why am I saying Ray Qureshi? Ray, doing his video with Andy Martin, one of the questions was, ironically, from a member of the public via Twitter. They asked, during the international football, do you switch off from FPL? And he just said, no, FPL's constantly in my mind. And I was thinking, yeah, it's the same for me. I'm always constantly thinking about FPL and how I want to try and get in Mbuemo as a simple example, or how the fact that I've made a complete balls up with Martinelli or Nketiah as a simple example. How am I going to get rid of Cash? What's the plan with Douglas Luiz as just simple examples. All these thought processes are in my head. And like, again, that's something that people are kind of interested in hearing about, but there's only so much you can say about that subject matter. There's only so many permutations that you can think of to the point of where it's just like, well, I just need to get rid of this player to be able to bring in that player, but is it really worth it? And we do have an FPL question, would you believe? But certainly, you know, it's like, I apologise. Somebody said something about the fact that there's more to life than just FPL, and it is true. And just people like trying to understand the character behind, or the personality, I suppose, behind the camera and what makes them tick, I guess. Haxlet, fucking hell. Again, I always do this line, and that was just one question. Haxlet always says, I totally empathise with your situation, mate. I'm a few years older than you, in a studio flat that I don't like, and a town I don't want to be in, and single. Have you watched Derek or Afterlife? I've been spending the last week watching all of Ricky Gervais' shows. I've listened to them 100 times, and they all still crack me up. I'm assuming you're referring to XFM. By weird coincidence, again, my brother was mentioning to me he doesn't understand how I've listened to Wernham Blog's podcast 7 times over. In fact, ironically, I think I've listened to the Extras podcast about 10 times over. And it's like Haxlet said, it's something that just takes my mind off my own problems when I'm listening into the XFM shows or Wernham Blog. Wernham Blog, legitimately, I could listen to. In fact, I recommend anybody, Haxlet, if you're listening in, check out Wernham Blog, their podcast. It is just got, in fact, the Wernham Blog podcast for for everything, but also check out the Out of Office podcast for their interviews. They are fantastic. They're really, really good. The interviews that they've done with the various people in the world of fans of The Office. They're one with Jamie Carragher and I forget the guy's name. Is just magnificent. And they also have real high-profile guests that used to work with Ricky and Steve, or people that were part of The Office. Really, really good podcast to listen to. But Wernham Blog, if you want to just listen to it from a point of view where it's just 4 lads that love a show and can talk eloquently about each episode and throw in their own takes on things and whatnot, I highly, highly recommend that. That's Wernham Blog, yeah? Tell them Steve-O sent you. But yeah, like you say, with XFM, I listen to it once a year. I go through Series 1 to Series 4, then I listen to the Enemy episode, which is just meh, and then the BBC Two ones, which are just appalling. I really cannot stand them, but because it's part of a sequence, I just listen in. But with Afterlife, I really, really, really didn't like it. There was a brilliant YouTube video that was just destroying why they hated Afterlife so much. And it just summed up everything about what I felt with the show, which is, it's just Ricky Gervais. I can just do whatever I want. I don't have to put any thought into this. People still consume this. The storyline's pretty meh. The characters are just over the top. The plot is just ridiculous. You know, the simple bits and pieces of Lycan where, you know, by the way, I get the idea behind it, but it just does nothing for me. The bit where he gets that, is it the prostitute or whatever, to kill himself, or the bit where he throws a brick through a car window because they didn't stop at a zebra crossing. It just doesn't do anything for me. And yeah, this video, and I apologise, his name was Andrew something, I forget now, but it was a really good piece as to why Afterlife is so bad. But Derek, Series 1 is excellent. Series 1 of Derek is fantastic. Carl Pilkington especially is just superb in it. Series 2, I found it was just, let's get a bit more jokey and a bit more silly, and it was okay, just fell a bit flat. And because Carl wasn't in it either, it was just like, no, it just doesn't work now. Was there a Series 3? I don't think there was. But the Christmas edition was absolutely atrocious. Really bad. Very similar to Motherland. If anybody's seen Motherland for me, I really liked Series 1. I thought it was quite a clever comedy, to be honest with you. The irony is, of course, is that the male protagonist in it, he was rubbish in the first series, but then in the second series they realised his comedy potential, upped him up. But the actual Series 2 was terrible. Series 3 picks up, but good God, the Christmas edition is very morbid, and it just was just like, what is this? It just didn't work. Very similar to the Detectorists, the brand new the Christmas edition they did recent, like, was it last year? It's terrible. It just puts a complete dent in the whole beautiful masterpiece that they did prior to that. They should have just left it, even though ironically it did need something to tell the audience how they got on after, spoiler alert, after they discovered the gold. But when they did this follow-up 3 or 4 years later, I was really annoyed by it, about how bad it was. So yeah, I just think for me, with Ricky Gervais stuff, it's his stand-ups are really, really good. Extras and Office are brilliant, and Life's Too Short. I think Life's Too Short gets a lot of criticism, but I think Life's Too Short is absolutely magnificent. And finally, Odin just saying here, you get very numb by using online dating for some time, and again, this online dating thing is just purely just an experiment for me. But as I spoke about on the Total Stevo podcast last night, it's just getting to the point where I'm just like, I can't even bother to keep up with the experiment anymore, because the experiment's failed. The whole idea of the experiment was to, number one, see if Bumble really was the dating app in which women reach out to you first. They don't. Number two, I thought, actually, you know, there's a very decent chance that within a very small radius of 7 miles, I may get some matches. I didn't. Spoiler alert for the Total Stevo podcast, I've swiped over 2,000 times to the right, and I've had 2 matches. One conversation was with a complete lunatic, and I just couldn't deal with it. They left the conversation though. They ended it because they weren't, as the algorithm put as a quote, they weren't feeling it. And then another one which just literally died of death with some woman from Canary Wharf. Again, it went absolutely nowhere. So yeah, for every 1,000 swipes right, you get 1 match. It's just grim. But put it this way, I know that when I was doing it 6 years ago properly, no, fuck that, 7 years ago properly now, it really did numb me to the point of where, you know, I was just all you've got to think about is Quagmire in the episode of Family Guy where he gets addicted to Tinder. That was pretty much me. It is it's disgusting, to be honest with you. If you go down this path of being addicted to online dating, it is shocking. So on to the public comments regarding the other day, which, to be honest, I can't even remember which video this is. Oh, here. Players causing me a headache. Right, there was an FPL question. Lucas Dunn just quickly saying, I love the content. In fact, I'll do a Ned Flanders joke here, which hopefully you'll appreciate. But this is what he's actually written. Love the content, man. It's a Simpsons joke there. Gary should know that. Apart from he doesn't say man, he says, dude. I like how unique the channel is. You talk about other things aside from FPL, like football, jobs, society, gym, dating as examples. I think that's pretty much every comment. That's why I tune in. As being a viewer, as I feel you guys are real people, not just FPL this and FPL that. Keep up the great work. Thank you again. I really do appreciate that. Arman Dillon with an FPL question here. Who's the most suitable non-Haaland / Salah captain for next week? And would you play Areola versus Burnley or Johnson versus Luton? The simple answer is Johnson versus Luton. The West Ham concede goals. Burnley have the most shots on goal in every single game. So there's a very, 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 very high chance that we'll be... In fact, if I'm predicting that game now, I'm probably predicting 3-1 to West Ham. We're not winning the game. There's no way in hell we're winning the game. We're not even going to get a draw out of it. But captaincy-wise, for Sky, I know it's not Sky, but whatever. I'm going with Bowen. But truth be told, from looking at the fixtures here, Man City versus Liverpool. The history suggests a high-scoring game. I'm predicting a high-scoring game. I'm probably going to go 3-2 to Man City. I'll be predicting a Man City win. Burnley versus West Ham, like I said, 3-1. So Bowen is a very, very good captaincy here. No one owns Luton versus Crystal Palace players. You wouldn't even consider any of that. Newcastle versus Chelsea, forget it. Nottingham Forest Brighton, forget it. And Sheffield United Bournemouth, forget it. Brentford Arsenal? No, you wouldn't be looking at that. That's a very, very tough fixture. I'd be predicting something like 1-1, 1-1, 2-1 either way. I'll tell you a good captaincy, actually, in the Spurs versus Aston Villa game. Son or Watkins. I mean, in Sky, I'll be captaining Son or Watkins. I'd be potentially tempted by Watkins against Tottenham, but yeah, that's a nice fixture. Everton versus Man United, forget it. Fulham versus Wolves. So really, the only fixtures that you're looking at from a FPL point of view, captaincy-wise, would be the games with obviously Man City versus Liverpool. I get that, but we're not talking about that. Would be Burnley versus West Ham, so a West Ham player. Arsenal versus Brentford, so either Mbeumo or Saka, but Saka does fuck all from away from home. Trossard, and then Spurs versus Aston Villa. And I'll tell you what, Watkins or Son could be the really, really good differentials that you're looking for. But yeah, Johnston away at Luton. I think that this is one of those games where Luton won't be able to break through Crystal Palace, and it'll end up being like 0-0. Maybe 1-1 or 1-0 either way, but I just think that of the two, Johnston has a higher chance of a clean sheet ahead of Areola. And what is that based on exactly? Nothing at all. Absolutely nothing at all, other than just a basic opinion. Talking of which, the anonymous work guy on the toilet said, "I like your FPL analysis, subscribed." Well, you're going to love that then. I don't even know if we do any FPL analysis, do we? Do we? Scotland Investor talking about Sky FF. What's your strategy for Sky FF in the coming weeks? I'm just leading my team. I don't really need to do anything. If I show you on... I wonder if this will work. I wonder if this will work for a second here. Let's just quickly put on this. Right, so there's the Sky screen. I'll just put on my webcam for the sake of it. So there's the Sky screen there. And just for people to kind of get an idea of what the page looks like and all this nonsense. Oh, great, I've got to do all that, have I? Brilliant. Up a minute, let me just... Oh, you can't even see it anyway. Brilliant. That's fine. So I'm pretty much in the standing of not actually wanting to do any... I don't even need to do anything, to be honest with you. I think Umbremo will be coming in for me in the near future. But right now, as it stands, with Johnson in goal, perfectly happy with the next few fixtures. He potentially will be turning into Raya. For me, Trippier happy with. Poro I can stick by for now. I don't really need to sell him. I'm not desperate. Shimikas is a problem, but again, I can just stick with him with these decent fixtures. Saliba is fine. Bowen is fine. Salah fine. Son, again, he's a talisman for Tottenham. I don't need to get rid of him either. Gordon is just there because he is just a placement for when Chelsea's fixtures turn. So when Chelsea's fixtures turn, Palmer will be coming in for me. And then you've got Haaland and Watkins that don't need any explanation whatsoever. It means then that I will have... I'm stating the obvious, but a captaincy for every... I've worked out that I've got a captaincy for every single day apart from this Fulham versus Wolves game, which I have no interest in touching whatsoever. So this week, for argument's sake, I'm probably going to go with Bowen against Burnley for safety, Son against Aston Villa, and then I've got no captaincy on the Monday, unfortunately, but whatever. On Saturday the 2nd of December, again, I've got probably Saliba at home to Wolves. I'll probably go with that. Or possibly Trippier at home to Man United. That would be a toss of a coin with that, but I think that Saliba at Wolves is the safer bet. And then on the Sunday, I've got the likes of, well, I've got Haaland, I've got Son, I've got Shimikas or Salah versus Fulham, Watkins away at Bournemouth. So, that would be a good day actually to do the streaming as well on the 3rd of December. 2 o'clock fixtures there for Elite FPL. And then on the we've got 3 days on the 5th of December, so I've got Saliba away at Luton, and then on the Wednesday I can have anybody in my team, and then on the Thursday I've got Tottenham coverage away at West Ham, maybe even Bowen. So I've got coverage for the next at least 3 game weeks, and as I stated with Chelsea and Craig Gordon, I'm happy to keep Anthony Gordon. I keep calling him Craig Gordon. I'm happy to keep Anthony Gordon for the Chelsea, Man United and Everton games, possibly Spurs, but certainly the next 3 fixtures I'm perfectly happy with. I'm pretty sure that's what I worked out to be honest with you. The 4 fixtures, so that included the Bournemouth game. And then I will swap him for Palmer, who, after those 3 game weeks, I've then got this beautiful run of Everton, Sheffield United, Wolves, Crystal Palace, Luton, Fulham with Palmer, because he's got Newcastle away, horrible fixture, Brighton at home, not too bad. I could even bring him in early and go Palmer in for Tsimikas. And with that, it means that with Tsimikas being a bit of a rotation risk, yeah, I don't want to do that actually. I've just looked at the fixtures. Fulham, Sheffield United are 2 fixtures I want him for, and maybe even Crystal Palace away. So yeah, but certainly Palmer in for Gordon is the immediate transfer that I'm thinking of off the top of my head right now when it comes to Sky Fantasy. And for anybody that doesn't know, I'm 410th I'm at the moment. Let's just quickly I just check on here. So in the Burnley League, I'm second, which is just ridiculous. I'm on 1108 points, and I'm only 6 points off top spot, which is ludicrous, and I'm still bitter at the fact that I didn't do my transfers from 3 weeks ago, where I would be top by, well, it'd be 10 points basically. And then overall rank, I am was it 420th? I am, so 420th in the world. Just to give you perspective, James, who is a genius at this game of Planet FPL, he's 380th. So I'm 40 places behind James from Planet FPL, and Matty FPL is 350th, something like that. But I found out yesterday on Planet FPL's Sky podcast that Luke Disable is 27th with his first team, and his second team's 150th, which is just absolutely absurd. But obviously, going back into this, I will then also be looking at bringing in Mbeumo, and Mbeumo could be the player that could replace Bowen as a simple example. As just a simple example, but again, I'm just speaking off the top of my head at the moment. But certainly, transfers in the coming week for this team are going to be Johnson for definite, and Gordon. But I don't need to do anything for at least 2 weeks, I don't think, give or take. So I'm in a very good place with my team. I'm very happy with it. So yeah, I've got good coverage for all those particular individuals. There was something from somebody. I mean, there is FPL Matty saying even men have problems how they look. Like my son, he competes in competitions but still says he's not big enough. But yeah, he's a tank, and he doesn't do it for Instagram women. He doesn't do it for Instagram. Should be a full stop there. Women are a bit different. They like to take selfies and videos and post it on TikTok, etc. Yeah, it's a subject matter which again, it's just too much of a deep dive that I'm not willing to really go into now. But certainly with bodybuilding, the sport of bodybuilding, it's a profession that I would not want to go into, or a sport I'd want to take seriously. It has severe negative impacts on you as a person. It causes severe body dysmorphia, and you're always competing with someone that's always looking better than you. At least with, say, strength training, it's literally just about, am I strong enough? That's it. Doesn't matter what you look like, it doesn't matter what you eat, it doesn't matter how you train. Are you stronger than that other competitor? Bodybuilding is completely different. Wow, that guy's got slightly bigger biceps than me. Wow, his quads are really, really developed. Oh God, I haven't got good enough calves. Oh, my shoulders aren't big enough. Oh, my back isn't wide enough. And it just goes on and on and on and on. And it's something I just would not want to be part of, taken seriously anyway. For a bit of fun, like a part of my training regime, I'll be perfectly happy. I'm perfectly happy to do. But when it comes to competing, I would not want to go down that route, unfortunately. Anyway, I'm going to clear off to my favourite shop, Lidl's. And yeah, on that note, as I always keep saying, thank you for the comments and responses, members. Really do appreciate it. As ever, if you have got anything, I always say this, it's about you, the members. Want me to talk about something? I'll talk about it. And if you are watching this publicly and you enjoy the content that myself and Jason are bringing you, or more specifically me at the moment, but whatever, by all means, make sure you're subscribing to the channel and making sure you're hitting the like button. On that note, let's get out of here. Thanks for watching, and I will, well, see you whenever.